I didn't go to Seoul expecting to love it, but after 2 weeks there, it became one of my favorite cities in the world. In this video, I'm breaking down the unmissable sights and neighborhoods, the incredible food, some awesome coffee spots, as well as cocktail bars, and then a few bits and pieces that I'd probably skip next time. Everything's timestamped, so feel free to jump around. And if you want a full write-up with all the details and even more photos, check out my blog post. The link's in the description. Seoul is a big, crazy, densely packed city, so whether you're there for a couple of days or a couple of weeks, there's always going to be something to do. Now, I won't skip the obvious, but if you're going to do any palace, make it Gyeongbokgung Palace, with a little side trip to Bukchon Village. The entire complex is an architectural feat. It is absolutely stunning, and you can genuinely get lost in there for a couple of hours. If you're even slightly considering getting a hanbok, please do it, because not only does it get you free entry, it's going to turn the whole experience into a core, unforgettable memory with amazing photos at the end. And since everyone is basically doing it, you're not going to feel like the odd one out. There are a whole bunch of hanbok rental places a couple of minutes walk from the palace, and we chose Yes Hanbok, which was a really good experience. But I'm sure basically everywhere is more or less the same. Next up, check out Jeongmyo Shrine. It's a little bit more low-key, but genuinely such a good time. It's understated and serene, and not as busy as a lot of the other touristy spots. Oh, and mind the big pathways. Those are for the spirits, so you can take your little tootsies and walk elsewhere. Another spot I really loved was the National Museum of Contemporary Art. If you're interested in modern Korean culture, art and design, then it's the perfect spot. There's loads of different exhibitions across multiple floors, and it's a great way to take a break from palace hopping. I also tend to have a soft spot for contemporary art museums because they're highly entertaining. Like when there's an exhibition dedicated solely to rocks with pieces of string on them, and you're just there like, what even is this? But hey, art is art. Oh, and by the way, that was an actual exhibition in this museum, so you're in for a treat. While this isn't in Seoul itself, I'd really recommend taking a DMZ tour so that you can see the North Korean border. There are a whole bunch of tours doing a variety of stops, but the one that I took from Get Your Guide was amazing, and the link is in the description if you want to check it out. I'm gonna be real, it's really interesting, but it is quite sobering and sad, because the guides will often go through the detailed history, and some of it is heartbreaking to say the least. Still, sad or not, it's really worth doing because it's awesome to be able to contextualize the history of the area that you're visiting. The tour I went on did an amazing job of striking the balance between being informative and respectful. We learned so much, and we saw everything from the suspension bridge to the trains that used to go back and forth between the country, as well as a bunch of tunnels that were dug towards the borders. Right at the end of the tour, we ended up going to an observatory where you could actually see a North Korean town on the other side of the border, and there was a massive flagpole with their flag waving in the wind. It was quite a surreal experience and something that I'll never forget. If you're there for a short time, I wouldn't really worry because this particular tour that we went on was a half-day one, meaning we left at about 7ish and got back about 3. In terms of things to skip, this might be slightly controversial, but don't bother with going to the Coex Mall and the Starfield Library. I love shopping as much as the next girl, but genuinely it was just full of a whole bunch of tourists trying to get the perfect Instagram photo, and the mall was so enormous and confusing that you couldn't even get to the stores that you might have been interested in. There are so many more cool shopping spots with character, from Hongdae to Seongsu. And to tack on to that, the Gangnam statue is outside, but again, I would really just say it's a touristy gimmick. Unless you're a super fan, there's genuinely no point because it is literally the two hands like this in the middle of a road and a bunch of tourists queuing to take photos. Not ideal. Moving on to the neighborhoods. Now, Seoul's actually one of those cities where the neighborhoods are truly distinct from one another, so it's worth making the trip across the city to see the different areas. If you've only got a short time, then I would say go to Myeongdong for the extensive shopping and fun restaurants. Check out Iksan-dong for the traditional streets lined with gorgeous old buildings and the lovely Hanok cafes. And pop to Hongdae to feel the lively, youthful buzz of the cities with a great mix of bars, restaurants, and things to do from day till late at night. I'd also actually recommend staying here if you can because it has some of the best transport links in the city without being right in the center of the busyness. And while you're over there, don't miss the adorable little Yeonnam-dong, which is only a couple of minutes walk away. It's essentially this long, beautiful tree-lined road with loads of cafes, cute boutiques, and amazing places to have snacks, and obviously a bunch of photo booth stores to take some cute pics. Now, if you've got more than a few days, I'd also really recommend checking out Seongsu. It's basically the Brooklyn of Seoul, and it is absolutely gorgeous, filled with aesthetic streets, super cool boutiques, edgy cafes, gorgeously dressed Koreans, lots of shopping options, absolutely excellent bakeries, and Joyeondo Sokgumpang is here, and I'm really sorry that I butchered that, but it's some of the best salt bread I've ever had. Now Seongsudong is a little bit far out, but I promise you it's worth the trip. Seoul Forest is also nearby, so you can totally make a day of going to the forest in the morning and then Seongsu in the afternoon and late at night. For a separate exploration day, I'd also really recommend Hannam-dong. It's one metro stop from Itaewon and it is super cool. Think New York's Soho blended with London's Camden Town. It's fun, filled with lots of things to do, and an amazing place to people watch. Now I think it would probably be sacrilege if I made a video about neighborhoods in Seoul and didn't mention Gangnam, but the thing is, Gangnam is absolutely massive and it's more of a region than it is a neighborhood. But if you're looking for specific areas of Gangnam to go, then Rodeo Street is going to be awesome for shopping, and Cheongdam-dong and Sinsadong is going to be perfect for nightlife, with loads of bars to hop between, as well as a few clubs buried in the cracks. A lot of people will say that Itaewon's actually a really good place to go out, but I kind of found it a little bit messy and chaotic for my taste. Honestly, it just depends on your vibe. Here's a little clip of what it looked like at 9 p.m. As you can see, there are people already being sick outside the station. And although I might have just been unlucky, I think walking around the area basically screams big party goers. If you're not into that, then Itaewon in the evening is probably not the one. But there are some really cute cafes and antique shops nearby, so if you're here in the daytime, then the streets surrounding the station could be cool to check out. Now for the food. And oh my god, you're going to die, because Korean food alone justifies the flight over here. And I'm not even being dramatic. I've actually made another video that's coming out in a couple of days just on places to eat and drink, so check that out if you're a foodie like I am. But here are some important notes and highlights for while we were staying here. Firstly, it's surprisingly affordable, the quality is high in most places, and eating quite late is normal here, especially if you're having a K-barbecue sesh. From Korean barbecue to fried chicken nights to amazing street food at markets, there is going to be something for absolutely everybody here. From the restaurants, one of my favorites was Jangbangjib 8292, which is a Korean barbecue spot in Hongdae. The reason it stood out to me, aside from the incredible food, was because it gave a full context of how Korean barbecue works, with an explanation of all the banchan, really easy iPad ordering, and just a generally good vibe with locals brimming from wall to wall. If you want a more premium K-barbecue experience where your food's cooked for you and it's absolutely unreal, Mongtan is a great shout. Mark Wiens actually did a video about it, which is how I discovered it, but actually going and tasting it for myself, I can now understand why he was obsessed with it. We actually ended up overeating and I don't regret it one bit. I'd also recommend going to a Jangin dak galbi, which is the ultimate comfort food. They basically cook a giant vat of dak galbi filled with a variety of toppings that you can choose. We had 2 different types of noodles, lots of chicken and cheese, and my god was it insanely good. And yes, we finished all of it, just the 2 of us. Moving on from restaurants to more laid-back cozy pub with eats vibes, I'd really recommend Grandma's Beer, which is a chain that's dotted about across the city. You have the glorious iPad with an array of drinks available and so much naughty food. Simply tap and order and your cold beers, delicious soju, and yummy snacky snacks will be delivered within minutes. You can literally pop here for an hour or 2 before a restaurant or spend all night here. But remember, in Korea, if you're ordering drinks, you do have to order food. Another amazing joint in the pub category is Art Monster. It's basically a craft beer chain with an amazing selection of beers on tap and some of the best fried chicken and tteokbokki mixes that you're ever gonna taste. We came here for the beer thinking we'd go to a restaurant after, but we stayed for the food and we came back 2 more times. Trust me, you're not gonna wanna miss it. Moving on to the street food markets. Now there's a little bit of controversy around this because a couple of years ago, Netflix popularized Gwangjang Market when it did a special episode on the kalguksu noodle lady. Over the years, the market became really famous and tourists all over the world ended up flocking to these tiny spots to try the amazing food featured across the market. And this sadly also meant that it started to become a bit of a tourist trap, with some sneaky vendors raising prices. Whilst Koreans do look down on this behavior, it is sadly a reality that the food here is more expensive. If you want to save on costs and have amazing food, I'd recommend skipping Gwangjang market. But of course, if you want to try some of the hype spots, then it really was delicious. I ended up trying the kolguksu noodles and they were lovely, and I also had some of the mayak kimbap, which was gorgeous. However, if you want to avoid the crowds, there are two equally as amazing markets that we ended up going to as well, and the food was just as good, it was much less busy, and the prices were noticeably lower. First up was Mangwon Market in the west. There are a whole bunch of different vendors doing a variety of amazing food, but we ended up trying some of the kimchi mandu, which was really delicious, some tasty odeng skewers, which are basically fish cakes on a stick, which was also yum, and a few little bits of fried chicken, because who doesn't want fried chicken at 10 a.m. in the morning? It's a much more calm atmosphere, and the markets that tend to be in a straight line are also so much easier to navigate because you know where you're starting and ending, whereas Gwangjang is a little bit of a maze and it can get intense after a little while. Another really cool market was Nandaemun Market, more in the center, and it's actually pretty popular because there's a noodle alley where you have a whole bunch of different noodle vendors packed in a tiny little strip between two stores. But the reason we actually went here was to try a special hotteok. Hotteok is a famous donutty street food, and one of the typical flavors is a sort of jam and nut and seed filling, but there's only one or two places in all of Seoul that do a glass noodle hotteok, and because I'm unhealthily obsessed with glass noodles and japchae, we had to go. It's just a few minutes walk outside the market. There's usually a queue, but it moves fast and I promise it's worth it. It is a gloriously crispy dough filled with the most umami noodles and veg. Trust me, it will change your life, and I think about it till this day. Moving on to cafes and bakeries. Now, the one thing that's certain is that Seoul has an absolutely ridiculous cafe scene, meaning that no matter where you go, you're gonna get some amazing coffee and pastries. Now, if salt bread is what you're after, then obviously that's a different conversation. But having been to quite a few bakeries now, honestly, the salt bread was pretty amazing everywhere. But the standout spots for us was Soha Salt Pond, which had an amazing variety of flavors, Beton, which had its signature crisp tips, and here I go butchering it again, but Joyondo Sokumpang, which had the butteriest flavor out of them all. Now a short segment on cocktail bars. The thing is, I love a good craft cocktail, but with a place like Seoul where the K-barbecue and pub scene's so well developed, it is hard to say no to a beer and soju. But if you're having a special evening or an occasion night, I'd really recommend doing a cocktail hopping experience. It was my husband's birthday when we went, and I booked Zest, Alice and Pine & Co. a couple of hours apart in the same evening, and it was a really great experience going from one to the next, having delicious cocktails. But one word of warning, unlike the beer and soju experience, the cocktails are on the pricier side, and you can basically expect London prices, with cocktails ranging anywhere from 12 to 15 pounds. Before we wrap up, a quick note on logistics. You want to download Naver Maps because Google Maps doesn't work here. You'll get used to it, and on Google Translate, make sure to actually download Korean so that you can use the language offline. Sometimes things don't translate well in Naver app, so you can screenshot the app and put it into Google Translate as a little hack. Next up, buy a T-Money card. You can get it from any convenience store, and make sure to load it up with a bunch of money because you're going to need it if you're getting on trains and buses around the city, which I'd recommend because cabs can be quite expensive. When it comes to payment methods, cards are accepted pretty much everywhere, but make sure to have multiple cards because some of them don't work, and if you're going to traditional restaurants or food markets, then you're going to need cash, so I'd really recommend withdrawing some and keeping some on you. When it comes to internet, I always use Nomad eSIM because I found them to be the most reliable and affordable provider out there. If you've not heard of them before, you can check the link out in my description for a discount code. A few good to know points: there's no tipping culture, it's a very safe city, you're gonna walk a lot, and for the love of God, don't skip the street food. When it comes to expensiveness, Seoul is actually pretty affordable. The only thing that's costly is usually the hotel or rent prices, but everything else from transport to food and drink is actually really decent and can be similar to Southeast Asia prices if you're going into the right places. Obviously, if you're gonna go shopping in the fancy stores or you're gonna opt for cocktails instead of beer, your bills are gonna rack up. But if you live the true Korean way with some nammyeon for lunch and then beer and soju for your drinks later, you're gonna be fine. Overall, Seoul is amazing. It's stylish without trying too hard. It's deeply traditional but super modern and cool. And the moment I left, I was already aching to go back. As I mentioned, I've linked my full Seoul travel guide in the description below, which dives deeper into everything I've covered and more. And I actually accompany all of my travel videos with an extensive write-up, so you always have something to easily reference when you're on the move. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Feel free to drop any questions you have in the comments section below, and I'll see you in the next one.